The mighty Brahmaputra river lay like some dark, sullen god, a vast expanse of water stretching away to the horizon as far as the eye could behold. Dark spots of rain swirled over the beaten silver of the river. Lost in a haze of light in the distance, the mountains of the Dibang Valley were beginning to materialize through the blue haze. The man sat in his jeep, parked on the ferry. As it navigated through the many sandbanks which dotted the braided course of the river, flocks of wild geese streamed overhead. A ferry carrying a varied load of passengers, tea planters and their staff returning to the gardens at Pasighat and Sadia, goats, pigs, and a few head of cattle. Local tribal people in their cane hats, stoically chewing on their pipes, and the inevitable traders who kept up a constant volley of conversation over the dull thump of the diesel engine. After a transit time of 4 hours, the jeep was duly deposited on the far bank and into a morass of black viscous mud. Engaging his four-wheel drive, the man drove away on the road, heading towards the little town of Roing, located in the lower Dibang Valley. The road climbed over gentle slopes as green forested hills closed in on them. A church stood silent in the engulfing green. He had entered the outer precincts of the enchanted valley. Roing in those days was a small shanty town, ringed by verdant hills. An old Bailey bridge led into the valley, where a main street stood, lined by shops and a bus station. A single petrol pump stood at the corner. A long line of vehicles waited outside to refuel. All around, the surrounding hills and the mesas looked down silently on the little township. The man drove on to a little lake by the hills, enigmatically named Sally Lake. The warm tungsten lights from the interior of an old bungalow perched on the lake welcomed the weary traveler. He unloaded his gear and sat down by the fireplace. Tomorrow would be a long day. He fell asleep to the sound of the crickets and owls calling from the dark depths of the Meham Wildlife Sanctuary, which encircled the little bungalow. Fireflies rose from the phosphorescent lake into the blackness of night. The Dibang Valley still remains one of the most pristine Edens of India. Its present name came into existence in the year 1980, when the valley was carved out from the Lohit district of Arunachal Pradesh, which lies to the southeast. The lower Dibang Valley constitutes its southern extremity, and the district of Siang lies to the west. The Tibetan Plateau guards its north and northeastern perimeters. The Dibang River is formed by many tributaries which traverse the valley. The major feeders are the Dri, Mithun, and Talon, while the smaller ones are the Ahi, Ama, and Embra. All these rivers confluence together as they debouch on the plains. The main water body arising from this confluence is christened the Dibang. The upper and lower Dibang valleys occupy 9,129 square kilometers and have a population of approximately 9,000, as per the last census recorded in 2011, making it the most sparsely populated district in India. The traveler woke at the crack of dawn, listening to the Khalij calling. The first leg of his journey would be up to the pass of Mayodhya at an altitude of 2,655 meters and approximately 56 kilometers from Roing. In the months of January and February, the snow lies thick on the ground at Mayodhya, amongst the bamboo shrubs and on the snow. With a little bit of luck, one may find the footprints of red panda, takin, or maybe even a clouded leopard. The road climbed on towards Mayodhya. These were the Mishmi Hills, the southward extension of the Himalayas. The hills stand at an average altitude of 4,500 meters and are cloaked in subtropical evergreen forests of oak, maple, juniper, and pine. It is the home of the Idu Mishmi tribe, who are an overwhelming majority, although the Singhpho and Khampti tribes are also present, but in far fewer numbers. Their language is derived from the Tibeto-Burman linguistic family. The Dibang Valley is incredibly rich in wildlife, some of which are extremely rare and endangered. Amongst the mammals, one can find the rare clouded leopard, marbled cat, Mishmi Takin, Gongshan muntjac, asiatic golden cat, red panda, and the elusive melanistic leopard. The Asiatic wild dog, wild mithun, and red goral are also found here. The presence of tiger has been amply demonstrated by camera trap pictures. The Idu Mishmi have a special connection with tigers and believe them to be their blood brothers. As a result of this belief system, there are no records of tiger poaching by the tribals who live here. The avifauna of the Dibang Valley is extensive in its diversity. Some of the rare species include the Himalayan Anisclatus monal, the Blythe and Temminck's tragopan, the rufous-necked hornbill, and the black baza. The jeep crossed Mayodhya Pass, which was covered in a pristine blanket of snow. Clouds hung heavy and silent on the mountain tops. Darkness fell as thunder grumbled in the skies, and lightning cast its unearthly glow on the valleys. A few specks of light on the mountainside around the bend told the traveler he was approaching the hamlet of Hunli and shelter from the elements. The next day broke to brilliant skies laced with ragged clouds. Distant snow peaks loomed over the valleys, and rainbows spanned the gorges. Low clouds crept up to the hamlet and paraded in a silent procession through the little settlements. The travelers' halt for the night was the little village of Italian, perched on one of the tributaries of the Dibang. The road meandered through some of the most primeval and pristine landscapes the traveler had ever witnessed. The green river accompanied the road. Most of the asphalt had long since disappeared. Now the green grass grew out of its fissured surface. The road arrowed down from high passes to dark, deep gorges. In the passes, the river's voice was a sibilant whisper, but in the gorges, it was a thunderous roar. Mysterious and frail cane bridges spanned the emerald and the aquamarine of the rivers. Narrow trails from the bridges disappeared into the dark depths of the forest where the tribal settlements were located. In the settlements, naked children played in the village square or clung to their mothers. The village headman, or Gaumora, was an affable man. The traveler communicated with him through gestures. Behind, in the shuttered interior of a cane hut, the shaman crouched over his fire. He spent the night in the Mishmi settlement and started out for Italian the next day. But he found it a place of disaffection, haunted by squalid houses and dingy streets. The only saving grace was the emerald green river, which thundered on, oblivious to man's incursions. It was as if some scourge or pestilence was imminent. The village seemed aware of its coming, but there was nothing it could do to avert it. So it just waited with a quiet acceptance. Crossing the cane bridge, he came upon an old man with a wisp of a beard. He was blind in one eye, but the remaining eye was devoid of compassion. The traveler drove away, distancing himself from Italy, although its dark miasma remained with him for quite some time. The road was climbing, and he had entered a vast open valley. The deep gorges were gone, and he knew he had climbed to the high country, the land of the secret valleys. A rampart of snow mountains encircled one of the valleys, and he knew he was entering Anini. An ornate gate, almost medieval in its bearing, welcomed him into Anini. Small shops, narrow lanes, a bus stand, a government circuit house, and a petrol pump were among the prominent landmarks of the town. He checked into the circuit house and, after storing his gear, went out in search of what the night had to offer in Anini. He woke the next morning, the morning of his departure, and drove away without looking back. He drove on through the silent valleys and the pebbled streams into the shafts of the windfall night. The call of the cicadas rose on the morning breeze, while white cumulus galleons sailed across the blue seas of the skies. Range after range of green hills, crowned on the horizon by snow peaks, rose in front of him. Behind the snow peaks lay the Shangri-La of his childhood dreams, Tibet. Crystal clear brooks ran alongside the road, and the griffin wheeled in the skies above. The trout and the marshy flashed in the waters below. It was the veil of the fire brothers, the brothers of the land and sea, who kept the fire burning bright in that strange and dark place.